What is the auditor's responsibility for subsequent events? Well, first off, we just investigate them to determine should we do something about them. Remember that the financial statements, they're a snapshot of what happened during the year. If something affects that year, and as such it affects the snapshot, it should be accrued for. If the warehouse burned down in March, right? So that's after, let's say it's normal January to December, and then in March of the next year, this is March of the next year. It's the division between the years. The warehouse burns down. Well, you're not going to account for it in the year because it happened in this next year, in year 2. However, you may have to disclose it if it's significant enough. But if we have a pending litigation from this year, happened sometime this year, and we find out the result of it in March, and keep in mind, this March is presumably before we issue the audit report, well, we should go back and accrue for it. It will affect that. We'll dive into those much more. Just a nice little taste, nice little introduction as we get going. So the auditor has a responsibility to investigate subsequent events, beginning with the financial statement date, which is commonly 12/31. And if I ever reference it, I'm pretty much just going to use a 12/31. However, you could have an audit that has a year end of 6/30, and those of you who have worked in the industry has probably seen quite a few other ones as well. And so it's the year end, the end date, so we close in the books, and the date of the audit report. That's the period we're working here. I'll show you timelines and all of that. Additionally, the auditor has the responsibility to consider the effect of any event that occurs after the auditor's report date that comes to the auditor's attention. We got to just think about it. First step is identify that we got to think about it. Next step is what do we do about it? I don't know, but we'll figure it out together. If a significant subsequent event occurs after year end, but before the auditor's report date, the auditor should discuss with and advise management to either disclose the event or accrue for it, depending on the type of the event. We're going to see a lot of that, right? Are we going to disclose it? Are we going to accrue for it? We'll see. Now we have two types. We have type 1 events, which are recognized, and type 2 events, which are not recognized. Just memorize that. Type 1 events are those that affect the balances of the year under audit. So this would be, a type 1 event would be like the lawsuit that gets resolved, and we have to go back and affect the year under audit. Type 2 events are those which are significant to shareholders and may affect subsequent year's financials, but do not affect the year under audit. So that would be the warehouse burning down. Let's say the warehouse burned down and burned down half the inventory of the entire company. That's pretty significant. However, the point of the financial statements is to present a clear and accurate picture of what happened in that year. And if the warehouse burned down after the year end, we can't include it in that first year, but we're going to disclose it and say, hey, shareholders, just a heads up. They lost half their inventory. Good luck next year. There are some items necessary for the auditor to request from the client that affect the subsequent period. So basically, specialized evidence that we need that will tell us if anything of significance happened after the year end. Now, let's talk about this. Generally, you're going to, for the purposes of a normal audit, you're going to request the bank statements from 1/1 to 12/31. However, we're going to ask for bank statements after year end, because if we see any massive significant transactions in the first 3 months of the next year, yeah, that could lead us to some possible significant subsequent events. We could include board meeting minutes. Maybe if you get the minutes of when the board of directors meets and you read what they said, hey, we have a lawsuit that was resolved. Well, by reading the minutes, you'll know that there was a subsequent event. Also, client prepared financial statements for the first few months of the subsequent period. If they prepare monthly financial statements or quarterly financial statements, get your hands on those, see if there's anything that affects your subsequent event period. All of these pieces of evidence could assist the auditor in detecting significant events. Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.